Alright, this is a video comparing some of my thoughts, my ideas, versus some things that Wittgenstein said. I think this is a relevant comparison because so there's experimental philosophy that Joshua Knobe and Sean Nichols and some other people are working on, and I have some ideas for how that could be and I think should be combined with executable philosophy. With those two joining forces, I think we can do some things that Wittgenstein perhaps either suspected were not possible, or he just didn't think about because his conception of philosophy was too narrow, in my view. So specifically, I'm looking at the Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy's entry on Wittgenstein, and at the beginning of section 4, when it talks about his conception of philosophy, it says, in the Tractatus, he says at 4.111 that, quote, philosophy is not one of the natural sciences, end quote, and at 4.112, quote, philosophy aims at the logical clarification of thoughts, end quote. Okay, so a few things. Philosophy is not one of the natural sciences. So I agree that that's the case, but I mean he goes on to say that, or at least as summarized here, that that philosophers should not concern themselves so much with what is actual, and because philosophy is not a natural science. He's saying that philosophy, can't help us get at physical facts. So I would like to sort of partially challenge that. So here's a claim that, so here's a way that I think we combine executable philosophy with experimental in an interesting way. So I think that in the strictest sense it is not possible to strictly empirically discover the fact that most humans' moral intuitions are logically inconsistent. Now, I think that that's true. I think we can clearly show that, but notice that you need two things in order to show that that's the case. Number one, you need empirical data about most human beings' moral intuitions. I think experimental philosophers, as far as I can tell, are doing a good job of figuring out what those are, and and various branches of science are working on that sort of thing as well. But that's an explicit goal, though, of experimental philosophers, is to uncover how humans, in reality, in practice, think about morality. So you need empirical data about what humans think about morality, but you also need logic. So specifically, what I would like to do is to have experimental philosophers collect a lot of data about human intuitions and human beliefs about morality, and then I would like to construct what I suppose it would be it's sort of a computer model of morality, and I think we can think of that as a theory of morality. So it wouldn't be a theory of Kantian ethics. It wouldn't be utilitarian. It would be a theory of ethics founded in human psychology, as discovered empirically by experimental philosophers. And then once we have that, if we have a sufficiently precise model of how human psychology, or most human psychology, thinks about morality, and if we implement that as an algorithm in software, at that point it is possible to, in some sense, compute moral facts. Moral facts, what do I mean by moral facts? I mean, what sort of morality are we talking about? Morality as founded in human psychology. And if we make it clear which humans we're talking about, and we collect enough data, then this is a very well-defined notion of morality. Unlike people claiming things about moral facts floating around in Platonic heaven, supposedly, So anyway, I think that's a powerful thing that is about the world. There are facts about, you know, which moral algorithms exist in the minds of particular human beings, and we can, you know, average those or aggregate those somehow in order to have a, you know, a more interesting model of morality that's more than just what one person thinks. So anyway, it seems to me that that Wittgenstein wouldn't have allowed for that kind of thing by saying that philosophers shouldn't concern themselves with what is actual. So yeah, I hope that's clear that you can combine experimental philosophy with things that are traditionally thought of as purely, you know, a priori, like logic, or in this case, you know, computer programming, where you're not dealing with physical reality directly, but if you have an algorithm that you implement based on empirical data that you've gathered about, in this case, how humans think about morality, then if we expand the notion of philosophy away from how analytic philosophers think of it to include experimental philosophy and executable philosophy, then we can do some powerful things. And in future videos I will be arguing that the combination of executable philosophy, experimental philosophy, and mathematical philosophy, as well as still some parts of analytic philosophy, but mainly those first three, I think, can be combined to, I think they should collectively become the dominant philosophical paradigm in the Western world, and initially, and then hopefully throughout the world. So, but yeah, that'll be for later.